I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Basson with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And today we have Craig Martin, a.k.a. Craig the Barber.
Hello.
By his Instagram handle.
Hello.
Shout out to Craig the Barber. Craig, tell us a little about yourself. Are you from here?
I am not. I'm originally from a little town in southwest Indiana called Vincennes. It's right on the border of Illinois and Indiana. And so small that all the time I had to ask my mom if I was dating a girl or is she related to me. So
Wow.
that's how small. That's how small it is. So
You really asked that?
yeah.
Oh boy.
There was a couple. I was like, "Are we related?" And she goes, "No, we're not related." Good. Thank you.
How far is that from Cincinnati?
Roughly about 3.5 to 4 hours,
Oh, okay.
depending on how many stops I make. So, and it's a boring drive. It really is.
Anything north is pretty bad. Like when you're going in that direction.
Actually, it's pretty much on the same plane. I think Vincennes is a
Really?
little bit more south than.
Oh, I guess, yeah. You
It
go
got
across that one.
that like big
Yeah.
thing that goes up from Kentucky. So, but yeah, as far as like Indiana is concerned, it's pretty much all flat.
Yeah.
Until you get to this area.
Yeah, I think was it like Brown County, Indiana? They've got like some nice parks and hills and stuff like that. But everything else is pretty much.
Yeah.
It's kind of how like Northwest Ohio is. Like going to college up there, and it's just like one shot, just straight. You can make two turns, pretty much drive it blindfolded.
Yeah, yeah. Now Brown County in itself is a beautiful ride, especially if you're on a motorcycle or something like that.
Yeah.
Especially with the leaf changing and everything.
Oh, man.
it's beautiful.
It's a
up there.
cool little spot.
Yeah.
So how did you end up here?
I went to barber school in Louisville, and that's where I met my wife. And when she finished college, I moved up here with her. She went to Ryle, and her mom and dad still live up here. So that's how I ended up here. And it's whenever I first moved here, it was amazing. Loved the people, loved the area, loved how everything was so close.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, the people are amazing.
Yeah. So you said you went to barber school in Louisville. How did you go from Indiana down to Louisville then? Like what made that decision?
There is no barber schools in Indiana. I think
That's an easy decision.
there was one up in Indy, but it was a beautician / barber school.
Yeah.
And I think I had still go like 2,200 hours or something like that. In Kentucky, it's 1,500 hours.
Oh, wow.
So it was more of a condensed program.
Is that something you always were kind of interested in, or just?
Not at all. My father became a barber whenever I was a sophomore in high school, and it was kind of one of those knee-jerk reactions, like, oh well, I'll just go to barber school, become a barber, work at a shop, and then whenever I find out what I really want to do, then go to college and pay my own way. 'Cause I didn't want my mom and dad to pay my way to college.
Sure.
So I went to barber school, and I found out that I was actually really good at it.
Huh.
So I just stuck with it.
There you go. Has it been turned kind of into a passion more so as you? Because again, it's one of those things where you don't. It's weird you find those paths where like I don't know if I really want to do this, and then you really find a love for it. Or versus some other people just know right away. I think it goes either way is fine. It's just one of those things you have to kind of find your own path though.
Yeah, it definitely, once I first started getting into cutting hair and really learning, and then learning different ways of cutting and doing different styles and doing different, whenever someone comes in and says, I want a mohawk, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because it's out of the norm.
Yeah.
Especially with flat tops and doing, especially some of those like high parts and the undercuts and everything like that. I'm like, this is awesome because it's something just different.
Something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you went to barber school down in Louisville, and then you end up moving here. How long? Because you work really close to here, right? Relatively close.
Yes. It was actually I worked in Louisville, or right across the river in Indiana, for about 2.5 years, and then we moved up here, and I just caught on. I just caught a lucky break.
Yeah.
One of the barbershops here, which has been in business for 50 years, just lost a guy. He moved back to Louisville, actually.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was coming up from Louisville. He was going back to Louisville, and
Wow.
and it was just a lucky break, and got into it, and I've been there for 8 years now.
Oh wow.
So
Very
and
cool.
have no change of or plans of changing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
So how do you end up here with us? Because it's been, how long you been with us now?
I was actually just thinking about that. It was December of 15?
2015. So
Yeah.
coming up on 2 years here then.
Yeah, because we moved into our house and our new house up here, because we lived in Dry Ridge for 5 years, and then we moved up here, and then I think that was in August,
Right.
and then was doing the fitness thing at Global Gym, and then actually what got me in here was a combination of two people. One was Keith Runyon, who
Yeah.
was a customer of mine.
Okay.
And then what really brought me in was Jenna Dunham.
Okay.
Jenna brought me. She's a friend of ours, and we got to talking. And she said, "You should really go see the guys over at Triumph." And
Because you've lost some weight over the years, right?
yeah, 50 pounds.
Wow.
And then I gained probably about 20 of it back, just because of weightlifting
Yeah.
and
A different kind of weight.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting on muscle mass versus, because I personally I've seen a pretty big change in just your body composition. Like, you have a good frame, you're tall, like
Yeah.
wide shoulders, so, and like you put on some muscle mass, it makes a big difference.
yeah, I feel a lot better, especially with cutting hair, standing up all day. My legs are a lot stronger. My shoulders are a lot stronger. I don't get as fatigued as I used to do. Like,
Yeah.
used to, a long day, I would have to go soak my feet for hours.
Wow.
And then now it's a long day. Go crash on the couch for a couple minutes and then go back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the lesser known of the functional fitness side of things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't really think about just literally standing, but I mean, if you're standing for 8 hours at a time,
Yeah.
it makes a big difference.
It's essentially especially on a busy day, like the day before school or day before a holiday, it is a 9-hour AMRAP.
Oh,
That-
well,
that-
yeah,
that's
right?
essentially
Yeah.
what it is. Every 15 minutes, it's a 9-hour day. So you're sitting there, next.
Yeah.
How long is that haircut's going to take normally?
About 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow, so you're doing quite a few over that 9-hour period.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah.
Wow.
And you're pretty much kind of in a forward position the whole time too. So
Yeah.
your shoulders are
Yeah.
kind of taking a beating and stuff like that. So maybe like run through where you were at maybe whenever you started, because I feel like your numbers have really, I mean, you're getting really strong, and your numbers are really shooting up. So maybe a baseline between like, hey, whenever I started with CrossFit, this is, I like the functional aspect of it. I can stand more, so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
do you remember your numbers pre-CrossFit and now where you're at? Just 2 years?
See, I believe my squat was. I initially said it was 315, and then Chris told me, no, it's not. You just said your squat is all off, and so he corrected my form, and you guys as well did it, and you guys basically lightened the load, corrected my form, and I think my max was 275 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then power clean was 150, maybe 135 or something like
Yeah.
that, and now deadlift was 200 maybe
Yeah.
at the most. So but now power clean, I'm hoping to get 300 the next time that we do a max. So if you want to put that into the programming here shortly.
Now do it.
Yeah, and then just squatted 400, which was a lifetime goal.
Man.
That's pretty awesome. Pretty
yeah.
jealous of that.
Especially back in high school.
Yeah.
High school, I could never break that 315 barrier.
Yeah.
It was a mental thing.
Yeah.
So
What did you play sports in high school?
I did. I played football.
Play football?
Yeah, that was the only sport that they could just stick me on the line and say, just go have fun.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you're a senior, just go have fun.
Yeah. Did you? Funny thing is, you talk about, well, my squat was all wrong. We kind of see that. Unfortunately, that trend where it's like, well, I cleaned 315 in high school. Well, you're just really strong. You basically reverse curled 315, which is amazing. But imagine what we can do with a little bit of form behind it.
I remember whenever I was in high school that they said, well, you're a taller guy. Spread your feet out. And I would spread my feet out, and they're like, no, a little bit more. And I was literally foot to foot with the width of the rack.
Oh, wow.
And I was basically at a pyramid.
Yeah.
And I was going, and that was putting a lot of pressure on my knees.
Yeah. Yeah, the wide stance squat is relative, but if you're not driving out,
if you're not trained properly,
it's a dangerous position to be
and
in.
I kept on complaining to my dad. I was like, my knees hurt all the time. And he goes, well, that's just football,
Yeah.
And
I just love that mentality. It's just what it is. You're 16.
Rub some dirt on them.
You're 16. Your life's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly at your peak.
So,
That's cool. So we've seen a pretty big change, and yeah, I just saw your 400 back squat, and it was pretty impressive to say the least. Because again, watching from basically breaking down from this kind of initial point where like this is where I'm at. Well, let's take a big step back. Which to your credit, you were very willing to say like, yeah, I want to do this the right way. Yeah. Because again, we see that every now and then where it's I already know everything.
Yeah.
And Craig came in with the right mentality that I want to learn to do this the correct way, because again, you had that pain in your knees when you were in high school. You're like, I know what it feels like to do something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, let's try and do something right.
And the thing too is that I don't come from a good line of joints and bone structure, because all my uncles are tall, so they've all had that knee pain. I think it's called Osgood slaughter.
Okay.
And where you grow too fast and your knees hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then my dad.
I didn't have that problem.
I believe my dad has had 13 surgeries.
Oh wow.
From playing sports.
Wow.
So he just, a lot of it was kind of self-imposed. He ran into a fence one time, had to get surgery on his face, stuff like that. But like,
I want to meet your dad.
but
He's do the podcast.
He's had 3 surgeries on his hip alone. So to replace a hip, and that was at age 50.
Oh wow.
So.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's that mentality. A lot of people get in the mentality. Well, we'll have to fix it with surgery.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, fortunately, that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people. It's just you have to take that big step back, mentally and physically, to take the time to, number one, rebuild. Number two, take the time to maintain what you're building.
Yeah.
Because again, I say it all the time, the more that you're doing here, the more that you're going to have to actually do to recover. You can't just keep piling on load after load after load and not taking the time to properly recover and do proper mobility and things like that.
Well, even yesterday, I have to give credit to you guys for making us do the slow decline,
the eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chris really helped me to, because I was really pushing through my quads and not really engaging the glutes and the hamstring, and he told me to back the glutes up, and that really engaged the hamstring and the glutes, and I don't have any knee pain today.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a big difference.
That eccentric movement and really just focusing on the raw power instead of focusing on or relying on that stretch reflex, right, where we hit the bottom and bounce back out.
Right.
So would you say you're still learning stuff after 2 years?
Oh yeah, you're always learning.
Yeah. Right.
I feel even in life, cutting hair, I'm still learning how to cut hair and still learning how to lift weights, and I could do little techniques of bettering myself.
Yeah. I think that's just kind of like a growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
I think so many people will get bogged down, and just, I don't need, self-improvement or these like self-help book. What is that? Like, I don't have mental problems. No, it's just a total mindset. So like, there's no doubt you'll be a successful barber because you're not content with, I know these 7, cuts and that's how I'm going to be. So like you said, that's that's a good trait to have whenever you're like, well, when someone comes in and wants something different, I get excited.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think that's one of the cool things about CrossFit, right? Every day, something different.
Yes.
So get
Very much
excited
so.
about it.
Yeah.
That's what really drew me to the class, you know, and you know, especially the on-ramp class. I love that you guys do that, by the way.
Yeah.
To guide you right into it, because like you said, it's something different every single day. You know, I'm not going to the global gym and doing my 5 sets of whatever and then going home.
And that being it.
Yeah.
And that's what
Taking
you do.
a 10-minute break between sets.
Right.
What you do every Monday, you know.
Exactly.
And I think it goes down, you know, we're reading that Ben Bergeron Chasing Excellence book right now, and there's a little graph in there. It's basically, you know, competency and excellence, and then the other end of the spectrum is, you know, being basically completely incompetent, you know, or, you know, laziness, put in whatever adjective you want. But it's like, you know, I think what helps us grow is getting past that complacency kind of aspect of life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because there is the good enough, you know, like I think, you know, you could have came in here today and just really just kind of done whatever that workout,
Yeah.
but you're really going to push that last run, and guess what? That little bit's going to make you better every single time.
Yeah.
You know, those small little habits, not snoozing the alarm clock, not eating that cookie, makes everything, in the long game, the long run, makes those gains much larger.
I don't know about the cookie thing. Like,
You know, I
see a
mean, there's
cookie.
there's certain levels.
if it's
There's certain
coconut, I
levels.
don't want it. But
Yeah.
yeah, chocolate chip.
There's certain levels. Very cool. So you've been coming to us, so it'll be 2 years in a couple months here. So in the first 2 years, we've seen obviously physical and a lot of mental growth. Where would you like to see yourself going in the next 2 to 3 years?
I'm not too sure. Long term, I don't want to, you know, be complacent. Like, I mean, we were just talking about it, but I don't want to, you know, be, oh, well, you know, I'm at this certain weight, I'll just stay at that weight. No, I want to be active. I want to keep on being active. I definitely would like to do a lot more competitions.
Sure.
But working on Saturdays really hurts that.
Yeah.
But as far as, I don't know, I'm just kind of taking it day by day. I'm not really looking.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
It's a tough question, right? And
Yeah,
it's like,
it is.
And
You know.
it goes two ways. I think people have those goals. Like you said, I had a 405 back squat goal.
Yeah.
You know, and we checked that kind of lifetime goal off the list for now. And I think then you set a new goal. But it is also tough to foresee the future, because I highly doubt that you would say 2 years ago, this is where you'd be right now.
Right.
You know, because you don't really know until you really get underway with it.
Right.
But at the same time, you had a goal. You had, you know, that 405 squat goal, and you know, now we have a power clean goal. And again, those are physical goals. You know, but I think the cool thing is what we see with CrossFit. We see a lot of the mental goals gain with the physical goals. You know, or maybe it's not even a goal, just those mental attributes that we gain. You know, again, like we've talked about before, problem solving. You know, you see a daunting workout. You look at it and you're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then slowly but surely, you start to kind of chip things away at it.
I'm surprised when I first started CrossFit that problem solving goes into life.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I've got to get a new roof. Okay, you know, this is, you know, we'll save up X amount of dollars per month or per week or whatever it is. You know, me and my wife have started chipping away at some of her student loan bills, and started chipping away at some of the credit card debt that we had accumulated while we were going through college.
Sure.
And we've done a really good job of chipping away at that and chipping away at that. And so now we're, you know, like I said, just problem solving a lot of different things, and not getting too overwhelmed with it.
Yeah, I think that's, like I said, that's been a huge transformation for me mentally, is being able to get through those problems a lot easier in life. Things that, again, would almost be crushing a couple of years ago are really just, okay, well, where do I start? All right, then we go from point A to point B, and point B to point C, and eventually you get through that problem.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if I would probably get there eventually, you know, mentally without CrossFit, but I think it's accelerated my ability to do so with it.
I think CrossFit has really matured myself and the fact of used to, I would let things get to me. I would explode at the littlest things, and and finally, my wife had enough of it. She just said, "Go talk to someone."
Yeah.
Go talk to someone. And I did. And that was probably the single best thing that I could have ever done is go talk to someone, go talk to a therapist, and just really just let it all out. I remember the first time that I went to see him, and I just exploded with this amount of information about myself. And he goes, "You really had to get a lot of stuff off your chest."
Yeah.
and
I feel
think-
a lot better.
yeah.
To that point, I think everyone does.
Yeah.
And I think, CrossFit, fitness, wherever you're doing, if you're doing it consistently and at high intensity, it's a cup that overflows into multiple areas. And, this is, obviously we've been on the podcast now, we're getting a couple episodes in, and a lot of people are saying this is their refuge and this is their happy place. And ultimately we're super blessed and excited that we can facilitate it, but it really is the members that drive this community. And, people like yourself that, hey, you need to go talk to someone. I think we just had a member rejoin because he called me up and he's like, my wife says I'm more angry now, so I need to go back to the gym. And I think that might even been verbatim what he said. And I know it's true for me personally. I know Jarrett probably as well. Any of the guys or Kelsey here can speak to it. Like we need to work out. Yeah. And you need to get that stress release. And maybe every day isn't like knock them down, drag them out. 20 minutes. Suck. Those days are definitely necessary, but finding that balance to where you're not just getting beat down every day is definitely important. But minimally, we're coming in and, producing some sweat and getting the heart rate up a little bit, whether it's just on a heavy day or short or long, so on and so forth. But then also, having positive people around you.
Yes.
Even if it's just an hour a day is critical to that development.
And getting outside of your little world. I mean, take this out of your daily life. Then you wake up, you go, and yes, you're involved with people, but generally speaking, it's probably a lot of regulars that come back and things like that.
Right.
So
that was what I was getting ready to say is that like coming here, I see people that I don't normally see. So at work, you're Barbara Craig. Yeah. And here I'm just Craig. I can release a little steam. I can release a little, be kind of more myself as opposed to being politically correct at work. And then you got here,
especially that 6:30 class. There's a lot of unsavory jokes in there. It's a rough crowd in there.
Between me and Colgan and Mike and sometimes Micah and some of Lauren as well. Lauren.
She'll throw them in.
Yeah. So it's a fun group to be with.
Absolutely. I want to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we'll talk a little bit about how you and your wife met and kind of how CrossFit fits into the rest of your life. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we are back with Craig Martin on the Everyday Athlete podcast. We spent the last couple of minutes talking about kind of how the mental aspect of CrossFit, how that fits into your daily life. I want to take a little bit of a step back because you've mentioned your wife a couple times now and talk about how you kind of, again, we went from Indiana down to Louisville and that's where you all met. Is there a good, fun story about that?
A little bit. I'm going to try to be careful here.
That's fine.
But I was her friend and I had the same apartment complex. Okay. And it was really weird because I had a crappy phone. And so I would always have to go outside to make phone calls. It never would work in my apartment.
What year is this, by the way?
2006.
Was it a flip phone?
Yeah.
Was it the Razor?
It was a silver Verizon phone that was like,
okay. Like you needed to get that Motorola Razor.
Yeah, that's where it was at.
And actually, I think I did get the Razor after that. Yeah. So I was a few years behind. So I had to constantly go outside to make a phone call, and I hated it. And she was outside actually looking for someone to play a drinking game, college life.
Yeah, sure.
And so she saw me out there, and I was getting ready to go inside, and she said, "Hey, friend, come play a game with us." and I turned around, and it was actually kind of weird because she has curly hair naturally, but at that night she had straight hair, and it was like a big like halo. It was at night, so there was a light, and it just like shined on her face, and I was like, wow, you are really pretty.
Yeah.
and so I went inside, and I did the slick move of taking her phone and saying, I want to put my number in here.
Yeah.
And that's how I got her number.
There you go.
And then the next morning I text her saying how good of a time I had with her last night. And she woke up saying, who is this guy? Who is this guy? So, and then took her out on a date, and she kind of just thought that I was just kind of a college fling that wouldn't last very long. She wasn't really looking to get into a relationship, neither was I, because I was going back home in 3 months to go work at my dad's shop. And it just evolved, and she has really opened up a lot of different things for me. Just way of life, way of thinking, just food in general. Whenever I first met her, I was literally eating McDonald's 3 times a day.
Oh, wow.
And that's probably where I got that 50 pounds that we were talking about earlier.
What was your go-to McDonald's meal?
Let's talk about the important things here.
Yeah.
Breakfast was my go-to meal. Sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin was.
So, and to note, in 2006, there was no all-day breakfast menu.
Yes.
You couldn't just roll up. You had to make it
Those
there
were-
before 10 a.m.
Those were hard times.
These kids today don't know how hard they have.
And Penn Station. Penn Station was another good one to go to. Getting that Philly cheesesteak.
That puts me in like a coma anytime I eat Penn Station. I'm like, well, my day's done.
Yeah.
So you said, so we've kind of, that's how we gained the weight. How do you end up kind of knocking that back off? Because was that prior to you starting here, or was it combination? Because I feel like you came in and you were in this process of still losing.
Right. I was just starting out. Probably a year before, I started going to a local gym in Dry Ridge, and then we started eating healthier. So no more burgers with mac and cheese on top of it. So we started eating a lot of chicken, a lot of vegetables, and we've progressed to doing that. And now she does a meal prep every single day.
Wow.
Or for every day.
Yeah.
And then a meal prep for the lunch as well.
Yeah, that's where it's at. Convenience is king, man. Like you said, I was eating McDonald's 3 times a day. Well, it's probably because you weren't. It's a lot easier to do that than make your own food.
It was literally 2 blocks down the road.
Yeah.
So
Number one reason people eat what they eat: convenience.
Yeah. So that's a big thing we try and get through to people is that, you meal prep and then that is convenient.
Yeah. And actually what I tend to do, and I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but what I do is meal prep on Monday, because I have Monday off. And what I'll do is I'll sit there and cook all day long, and I'll cook dinner as well. And I'll have my little treat of having a couple beers while cooking. I love to use my hands. I love to create things as far as food is concerned. I love to use my smoker. You guys.
Oh,
have.
yeah, we'll get to that.
and then, but that's always my little treat, is just to have a beer while I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps me wind down a little bit after a long day or something like that. And that's always my little happy place.
What's your go-to drink? Go-to beer?
Again, anything new.
Anything new?
I always like trying new things. So, but if I was standing at the
What's that? Let's easier way. What's type of beer do you go to the most?
darker style malt beers, browns, ales.
That's my man. That's my jam right there.
And then every now and then I'll do a pale ale. I hate IPAs.
If Rob was here, we'd be having an argument.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rob, would you say that you're the best smoker of meat at the gym?
I would say that now, yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
am.
Well,
I'm not
it's a
gonna,
yes or no question.
I'm not going to be politically correct. Yes, I am. So
Oh, wow.
Oh man, that's a challenge right
Might
there.
be a new guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
soon.
So for those of you guys who don't know, we've had quite a few gym outings and gym kind of get-togethers here, and even for Mark's bachelor party, and it's kind of a mini competition between Craig and Rob on who is smoking the best meat around, and I am always willing to judge this type of competition.
Speaking of which, what happened to that turkey that I gave you guys?
Oh, we've been eating it.
Oh, okay.
It's downstairs.
Okay,
Don't
just,
worry.
Just making sure.
Don't you worry.
All right.
Do you or Rob make the smoked eggs?
Rob does.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're awful. No, but we've, the cool thing is, we kind of find these new kind of paths and these new experiences in life. And, the nice thing about, that kind of smoked meat is it's still a relatively healthy option. Obviously, you can go overboard with certain things, but, in the right direction. And I think that's a big thing is finding what healthy choices kind of complement your healthy lifestyle.
You can throw a bird into just a young chicken.
A live bird?
No. You can throw a young chicken into get it at the grocery store and then throw it into the oven, and it'd be a good healthy meal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only so many times that you can do that,
Yeah.
and that the smoker will enhance the flavor, and make it just a little bit better, just that little extra taste.
What's something like that take time wise?
Turkey breast takes about 5 hours, 6 hours.
It's almost like the slow cooker style, right?
Yeah,
Kind of.
pretty much. And then a young chicken that you get out of the store, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then brisket is the longest. It ranges from it just depends on what temperature you have it. It could be 22 hours. It could be 15 hours, and the size of it too.
Wow. How'd you get into it?
My brother.
Yep.
Yeah, my brother was he's a traditional smoker. I'm more convenience of having an electric smoker, and but because I don't want to stand by a fire all day long.
Yeah. Well, especially too, I think when you talk about like if you throw a chicken in there, you got a lot of meals out of that if you're doing 4 to 5 ounce portions.
Yes. I think that turkey breast fed us for at least 3 days.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
and then I had some left over for you guys. And that's,
Yes.
Thank you.
Always good.
It was delicious.
Always
Good.
good. I'm just gonna start buying meat and just bringing meat in the Craig. Just like, here, buddy, I found this for you.
This fell off a truck.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to eat out of the smoker?
Oh God. Brisket. I mean that's key.
It's always king.
Yeah.
It's funny. Brisket is like one of the toughest things you can eat. And I'm sure it's the toughest to prepare.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean my pulled pork is good. The ribs I like because they don't take as long and it's just very, very tender.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that brisket that I made brisket tacos with the leftovers.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Oh man.
I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, we might have to cut this early. Go get some food. Do you have a favorite and least favorite CrossFit movement? Because I think it's one that everybody has their. Like, I'm really good at that, and I hate whenever they show up.
Yeah, so you've asked this before on the podcast before, and I thought about that while you guys were talking about it. And now, are we talking weightlifting wise or like?
Doesn't matter. Like my least favorite is gonna be pistols all day.
Yeah. I can't get pistols, so I don't know what those feel like on a regular basis.
I barely have them. It's almost been 10 years. And I barely have them.
Burpees I hate. Anytime I see burpees, because I still come in because I know I need to work on them and work on the cardio and stuff like that. But burpee, especially burpee over bar.
Yeah.
Oh, those are terrible because it's fast. It's fast stuff. And but as far as my favorite, power cleans.
Power cleans?
Yeah.
I can see that.
I like those as well.
Power clean, man.
Yeah.
CrossFit generally favors a short man's game. You know, they always say the worst part about being good at CrossFit is being 5'6". What's it like being taller and having maybe 2 pull-up bars you can actually use in a normal day?
What are you, 6'3"?
Yeah, 6'3".
6'3"?
There are some things that like I'll see some of. I don't want to say smaller or anything like that. It's just, they're a little bit lighter than I am, and they'll go over and be like, "Oh, I can do a bar muscle up," and they just walked into the gym, and it's like, really,
Well, the really funny part's when you see like 7-year-olds do muscle ups, like just because you're made out of Jello and it's all tendon, no muscle.
Yeah, it does make it a little bit. But then you have wall balls that you're a little bit taller, so you don't have to go all the way.
And rowing.
Rowing definitely helps. But those are the only ones probably. Yeah.
and to your credit, being taller and squatting over 400 pounds is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because again, you're physically talking about the range of motion it takes to go down and up.
Yeah.
Just goes to show and proves how strong you really are. Because that was one thing I noticed right away when you came in was you have a very good strength base. And I think that comes from football. I think it comes from being athletic in nature at a younger age. There's clearly a case for student or young sports at a young age. But again, it's that fine line of, especially when you talk about the mentality that well, does that hurt? And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about before on here is the evolution and how much smarter we're getting as a sport. And that bleeds over into, child athletics and things like that. We've coached a couple of younger sports teams, and just if you can teach a freshman how to squat correctly, even just an air squat, that's going to go a long way down the road.
I constantly think about what my physical abilities would be like in high school if I had found CrossFit. Because CrossFit came out in 2005, is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, it really went kind of mainstream probably 2010, 11, 12, right through there. I mean, .com started in 2000 technically, but it was well ahead of its time. Yeah. And that's when Coach Glassman basically started putting out these daily kind of brutal workouts. And, again, 21, 15, 9, thrusters and pull-ups. I mean, that's such a staple workout. And people look at that and they're not thinking I should have my football team do that. Yeah. They're thinking we need to do up downs and run, the entire length of the football field. That's their conditioning. And the weight program was probably based around bodybuilding movements, not explosive movements. And again, there's a lot of good programs out there for sure. And especially as technology advances with programming and different ways to measure performance. It's definitely, it's getting a lot better, but unfortunately there's still, some areas out there that need improvements just from an injury prevention kind of, approach.
Especially the female athletics. You see so many ACL tears, in young females because they don't take that time to prepare their body as they're growing. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Kind of like you said, you grow too fast and joints hurt. You have a lot of females going through puberty, and while you're doing a bunch of soccer is a really big one. Field hockey and things like that, where you're doing these cutting motions. Well, if you're not fully developed, you're running the risk, especially if you're not, basically taking care of the body as it's growing.
I just thought about something whenever I was in high school that one day when we were lifting, my coach wanted to switch it up a little bit, and he wanted to do snatch lift. And in here, when we do it, we do the bar progression, with the shrugs and the high pulls, and then go, and whatnot. And there, I remember it's pick up the bar, put it over your head. Then that was
snatch.
Yeah, and that was people were dropping bars on their heads.
Oh, wow.
And stuff like that. And it's oh, never mind. We won't do this again.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's usually what happens. And that's where that lift in particular, gets a bad name. Because it's well, I've seen people get hurt. And I'm well, that's because you just told the kid, pick it up and put it over its head. Yeah. There was no preparation of the movement or anything like that. But the exciting thing is like I said, as everything else progresses, it'll be late to the game. But I think eventually you will see a lot of, especially the high school level. I think you see it more in college, but at the high school level, you'll see these kind of coaches start to pick up on the advances that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
So the big thing I kind of want to finish out here with is, we've been talking about your kind of journey. We talked about losing weight and then gaining strength and gaining mental capacity. What would be kind of your big takeaway? As someone that either hasn't started yet or is thinking about starting CrossFit, what would you tell them if they were kind of sitting here right now with this? Because it's hard to see where you started, where you've gone, even for yourself.
Sure.
You're not going to have that foresight. So to give advice to somebody who maybe was in that position where they do feel like they're overweight, they don't have a starting point, they're not going to a Globo gym right now, they're not doing basically anything, what would you tell them?
So I do this actually often. When I get a customer in my chair and they ask me about CrossFit or something like that, and they said, "Do you do the stuff that they do on TV?" And I said, no, not at all. Because
that's most people's, that's their exposure to it.
Exactly. They see it on ESPN or CBS or whatever it is, and they're just like, "Oh wow, you're doing handstand push-ups on rings. What is going on over there?" But the one thing that I always tell them is that they teach you, especially here, you guys teach a core technique of how to do exercise, so that way you don't get hurt. And I've heard horror stories from other people that said, "Yeah, I tried CrossFit and I really hurt my back, and I just stopped." Well, injuries can happen anytime. You can stand up, go up a stair or anything like that and get hurt.
Yeah.
And it just, so what I always tell them is that, I always tell them that it's just the people that gets me in, that the camaraderie and everything like that. It's a team atmosphere. And I think everybody, has played probably sports at some time in their life. And so that's always been my thing, is that I go there and lose myself for a little bit, ask, whoever's in there about their kids or about their jobs or whatever like that. And you just kind of lose yourself in the process. You sweat a little bit, you get a little bit stronger, and it's fun.
Yeah. I think those are the big key points there. Like, be with people you want to be with,
that make you better.
Make yourself better and enjoy it. Yeah. Like, there's, for whatever reason, fitness is a connotation, like, I have to go do something I hate to do.
Yeah.
There's going to be stuff you don't want to do, but, like, I like doing this.
Yeah. I love coming here.
You're literally almost, I always tell people, like, you're tricking yourself into working out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, wow, it's fun. Like, it sucked, but, like, you're not thinking, like, I got to go do these sets in order to get better.
Yeah.
You're like, again, problem solving. I need to solve this problem, go through it as quickly and safely as possible, and then I'm going to be better at the end of the day for it. Yeah. Cool. Awesome, man. I do want to finish out with a quick question for you. We always like to ask our kind of final question here, because I know you've got a job to get to. What is your definition of fitness?
All right, so I kind of thought that you would ask me that, because of what.
Did you study for this?
I did. I did kind of actually.
He's got note cards.
So a good story is I went to go visit my uncle in Arizona last Christmas, and he has a disease that made him lose. And I can't remember the name of the disease or what it exactly does. It has something to do with the blood. And then he also got cancer as well. And he lost, I think it was over 100 pounds in less than a year. Wow. He weighed less than 100 pounds, I believe. I think he weighed up 93 pounds, I think it was.
Wow.
And so I was sitting there talking to him, and I said, "You look really good." And he goes, "You're a liar." And I said, "No." And so we got to talking, and I asked him, "How you're doing?" He goes, "I'm actually doing really good, because I came to the reality that doctors kept on saying to him, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. Well, he likes to hunt. He's a very active guy. And so one day he said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to say can. I'm not going to say can't anymore. So he went hunting with his son. And it was some kind of bird season or something like that. And he saw 2 birds, and he said, all right, well, if I get these 2 birds, if I aim at these 2 birds, then maybe I'll get one of them. And he shot. And him being so weak, it bruised his shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Really bruised his shoulder. And the scope came back and hit him in the face. And it bruised half of his face. And he was laughing the entire time that he was talking about this. And I'm sitting there with my mouth open, my eyes wide, like, how is this helpful to you? And he said, I got both of them.
Wow.
and he said, that's whenever I realized that I don't want to say can't anymore. So that's, I feel like, is my definition of fitness, is that whenever I come to a problem or I get to something, I don't want to say, I can't do this. I want to be able to say, I can do this. I can lift that. I can problem solve this. I can, drop a little bit of weight that I need to lose or whatever it may be. I just want to say can. So
that's a huge mental shift.
Yes.
It's
Absolutely.
good stuff.
That is a fantastic place to end. Craig, I do very much appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
And fitting us into your schedule. I know you're a busy man. And we look forward to having you in class.
And eating the best smoked meat.
the best, better than Rob. Better than Rob's. That would be the business name. Better than Rob's smoked meat. It's a little long. We'll work on it.
Yeah.
It's a working title.
I guarantee I'm going to get a text message from him sometime.
That's all right. Thanks for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep into the lives of the people who make us great. Thanks, Craig.
Like,